My name's Tyler Orr. I'm a counselor here in Chattanooga, and I'm going to attempt to answer this question. Is pain a problem that can be treated with psychotherapy? Yes. Um, yeah, sorry. Oh, that was easy, right?
Thank you. Next presenter.
Yeah. And that,
Pass out your card and you do that.
yeah, well, we learn in counseling school, don't ask questions like this because they're closed-ended, you know. So I'll give you a more open-ended answer for about 40 minutes. So I think that it is something that therapists can work with, and I say that confidently because I work with it all the time, every day. Matt has really done a good job of talking more about, what was the term, Matt? The chronic function?
Chronic functional syndrome.
Yeah, yeah, we work a lot with that. I think you'll get to your next segment about mind-body syndrome. We work with that, but we call it a somatic symptom disorder because that's what it's called in the DSM-5, which is our diagnostic manual. But it's the same thing. It's a pretty specific diagnosis that's not real easy to give somebody, but I would say up to 25% of my clientele could meet full criteria for this. Yeah. But I would say that almost all, 80 to 90%, somewhere along the way in treatment, they'll have something will come up. They'll report some sort of weird somatic thing that they can't explain. Headaches, back pain, whatever. All the stuff that was on that list for Pain Jane this morning. So I see it every day. I see it a lot. But despite that, I'm met with a lot of skepticism. Because if somebody comes to see someone like me for pain, I'm usually one of the last stops, if not the last stop, because the person has exhausted all of their medical and alternative health options. They've tried it all. And most people don't want to accept that somebody like me could help because it's like we talked about earlier, that means it's all in my head, right? So, well, I spend a lot of time defending this position that psychotherapy is helpful for pain. And so when I was thinking about what should I present today, I thought, well, I might as well just talk to you guys like I would a client in the first session. And also give you something that you can take home, right? That's the point. And most people don't know how equipped psychotherapists are at treating pain. There's so many different options available to us. It wouldn't do you any good for me to explain them all. So I thought today I would just kind of go with one approach, which is more mindfulness based and somatic based, because it's something you can do without me. So we'll actually have some interaction here. We'll kind of go through some activities together like I would with a client. And I get the vibe that you guys will be really fun to do that with. So you guys aren't shy. Let's try this. Okay, chronic pain falls in the realm of psychotherapy because it's an emotional problem. I saw a married couple once who the husband was there for depression. The wife was just more there for support. But he made the comment, I just want to learn to cope with my depression better. I said, dude, that's one of the saddest things I've ever heard anybody say. I said, you guys are married. If you had a problem, would your highest goal be to cope with each other? And he said, no. I said, no, if you had a problem, you would want to change your relationship in a way that brings healing. And he said, yes. So that's really it. And we've said this. This is our goal for this today, is to change the way we relate to pain in our bodies. And what I would add is here is to really change the way we think about pain in our bodies. So, and also just to change the way that we relate to the full experience that we call pain. So in order to help you guys see that pain is an emotional issue, allow me to show you how I view and work with emotions. There's a certain theory that I hold to, and I think it does a really great job of simplifying what an emotion is, because emotions, when we talk about that just sounds so overwhelming and scary. Dealing with anger, just sounds so let's break it down in a way that might be more comfortable for you guys and easier to understand. So I'll tell you a story. In 1962, these two researchers named Schachter and Singer did an experiment that would be illegal today, like most of the ones from the 60s, right? So it's illegal because they lied to their participants. They told them they were going to give them vitamin shots, and they were going to check to see if they had any physiological reactions to the shots. But they really gave them shots of adrenaline. So everyone had really strong reactions. They were flushing and sweating, increased heart rate, respiration. Kind of like being up here. They were jacked up, right? And so then the researchers sent in these people, they call them stooges or Confederates in research. That's just a fancy word for actor. They're pretending to work, or they're pretending to be participants, but they really work for the researchers. Well, some of the stooges acted angry, some acted happy. So when Schachter and Singer asked the participants, what emotion are you feeling? Guess what? All the ones who were with the angry stooges felt, yeah, all the ones who were with the happy stooges felt, yeah. So they realized everybody was feeling the exact same sensation, yet everyone was interpreting what emotion they were feeling differently based on what they thought about what was going on. So they developed a theory of emotion called the two-factor theory of emotion. And basically the two factors are thought and sensation. Simple way to think about emotion. It's a combination of a thought and a sensation. So we got this little math equation that works. Thought plus sensation equals emotion. Now if you feel a sensation and there's no thought, it's just a sensation. And vice versa. You have a thought with no sensation, it's just a thought. It has to be the two coming together in order for you to experience fear or anger. Like example, fear is, you're thinking about something that you're afraid of and your body's responding and you're having that sensation that we all know so well, right? So let's do an activity right now, in the moment, to help you guys see this for yourself, okay? Everybody think about a loved one, somebody you would love to see, it would just make your day to see this person. So you think of that, and I'm gonna take a sip of water. Everybody got it? Now imagine that you're not sitting here, you're actually in a park, sitting on a park bench. You can close your eyes if that's helpful and just really let your senses get into this. You're seeing all the things around you, maybe there's children, there's trees. Notice what you can hear. If you have a really vivid imagination, maybe you can smell the park. And from the right side of your vision, imagine that you see your loved one walking toward you. Notice what comes to mind. Notice the thoughts, and notice what you feel in your body, in the tissue of your body. And then notice what emotion you feel as those two things come together. So let's check in. Who wants to volunteer? What came to mind? What thought?
I felt overwhelmed with joy, almost to tears.
Great. You did exactly what I hoped you would do. You answered a thought question with an emotion. Yeah, and most people have a hard time with this at first because it's all muddled together. Thoughts, sensations, emotions, it's all just one big thing. And so what we're really looking for here is like a sentence. What's the voice in the head? What's that?
I thought, oh, I love her.
Yes, thought. Right. Good. Another example? Anybody?
Just happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Smile.
Okay.
Flush.
Flush. That's a sensation. Right?
Oh, why did I think of that person?
Yeah, there you go.
What was that?
Why did I think of that person? Yeah. So that's a sentence. Really, when we're talking about thoughts, it's helpful to, you really never had a thought, you've rarely had a thought that wasn't some kind of word, sound, or picture. It's the voice in the head, it's the words, it's a sound like a song stuck in your head, or it's a picture like an image of your grandmother's face. Every now and then, maybe we can make an argument that you have a memory of smell. But it's basically just a sensation image. Does that make sense? Not quite the real thing as far as a sensation. So like flush, that's a good example of sensation. Who has another example of a sensation you felt in your body? Yeah.
My heart felt like warm and like expanding.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Just a softening and loosening all over.
That's it. That's a sensation.
Felt my cheeks go up kind of
Yeah.
slow.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And as the thoughts and the sensations come together, what emotion did you feel? Happy. Joy. Nobody had like really bad, negative.
I felt
Some sadness. Some. Yeah.
bittersweet.
Okay. Good. So did you kind of get a glimpse of what we're talking about here? The thought and the sensation? Yeah. Now, if you had had a thought about the person, but you felt nothing in your body, it couldn't have been an emotion, right? We even say it, like I feel an emotion. That's such a huge component of it, is the sensation in the body. So everybody got that? Okay. I'm just not used to this. This is wild to me. Okay, so here's a drawing that I did that explains how humans have emotion. It's a cycle, as thoughts and sensation feed each other. And you may have noticed that as you were doing that. You saw the person, you had a thought that there was sensation in the body, and that may have led to another thought, which may have led to another sensation, like more sensation, back and forth, and that's how we get this sort of circular emotion. And this is real similar to what you'll see Matt do later. He does the pain triangle. I just like circles better, I guess, than triangles. So imagine somebody, you leave here and you pull out at an intersection and somebody almost hits you. It's a close call. That's probably happened to everybody, right? Now your body tenses in response to almost being hit. Like your body recognizes there's danger. It tenses basically to prevent you from being torn apart. That creates sensation. That's what the staticky stuff represents, right? So the sensation in the body, and we've all felt that near-miss feeling. It's a really strong sensation. And then because of that sensation, you have a thought, and let's say in this case it's, oh my goodness, I could have been killed. Now as that sensation connects with the thought, creates the emotion, in this case it would probably be fear, right? No, let's say, for example, you have the same thing happen, same sensation, but for whatever reason, this time your mind spits out a thought like, what a jerk. Yeah, I'm gonna chase this guy down and give him a piece of my mind. And so automatically they come together and you have anger. Exactly. Now what happened, now this happened to me recently, and I bet I spent a good 3 or 4 hours just fantasizing about what I wanted to do to this person. And it went from everything to like me killing him to him killing me and everything in between, right? So my mind just kept spitting out all these different scenarios, and every time more sensation, right? So let's say you have that thought about chasing the guy down. Well, your body's going to react to the possibility of chasing this guy down because it actually assumes that you're going to do it, right? So it tenses more in preparation for an attack. And then that causes more thoughts about you strangling the guy or whatever, and it causes more sensation, more thought, more sensation, and then we're stuck in this cycle. Everybody get it? I had a client once say that sensation and thought are the spokes that turn the wheel of emotion. And man, I love that. That's exactly what it is. And that's what we do as humans. Animals don't do this. Our emotions are more psychologically based. Theirs are more physiologically based. They're more concerned with what their body is doing in the moment, because they don't have this fancy thing on top, the cerebral cortex, that can add all kinds of stuff.
So zebras don't get ulcers.
That's right. Yeah. So let's see. Imagine a zebra sees a lion, and her body tenses in response to the potential threat. Zebra starts to run toward her. She has full-on fear response. Her mind has they have thoughts, just not nearly as elaborate as ours, right? So it's basically just danger, not danger, right? We talked about that. And so thought says danger, body tenses, there's fear as they come together. She starts to run. And she runs, the fear helps her run faster than we dreamed she could. It almost makes her, I can't say superhuman, but super zebra strength, right? And she runs, and then she looks back and she sees her buddies being eaten instead of her. And her fear stops. She eats grass. Right? She doesn't look back and do what we would do, like, I'll never forgive myself. I should have done so. We should have memorial service, guys. You know, it's none of that. It's done. She just continues existing. We don't do that, right? Because we have this thing on top that adds to the experience of the moment. Adds meaning, it adds past, future, analysis, you name it. So that's what happens with us. Zebra is basically One cycle, once it's over, done, right? If zebra was cut off in traffic, she would be angry until the car is out of sight, and then she'd drive peacefully. Make sense? So, we'll learn today how to break the emotional cycle by observing the body and using the mind differently to disrupt problematic thinking. But we'll get to that a little bit later. I want to talk about pain now. That's why we're here. So how does it fit? Chronic pain is really chronic tension. And I'm sorry I learned today I shouldn't use the word chronic. It should be persistent. I didn't get the memo, so apologize, but there it is. Tension is how the body protects itself through emotion. Let's see. Survival emotions have uncomfortable sensations associated with them. If you're afraid, you feel that sensation in your body. It's uncomfortable, right? It doesn't feel good. That tension is a call to action. It's a motivator for you to move away or move toward the threat. So our zebra, she sees the lion. She feels tension in her body that's uncomfortable, and that's her sign to run. And she runs to get away, but basically the simplest way I can think of it is she runs away so that the tension stops. And she knows the tension stops. She knows there's no threat. So fear causes you to run away. It's the flight. Anger is the opposite. Let's say zebra sees somebody messing with her baby. She feels that discomfort, that tension, and that's her motivation to go over and bite the guy that's messing with her baby. And once the guy's not messing with her baby, she's not angry anymore. The tension stops, right? We don't do that. We don't run or bite. We just hold stuff in, right? We just deal with it because that's what we're taught to do. Like, when you get pulled over by a state trooper, do you run or bite? Right, yeah. Zebra would just do that every time. There's no way. So yeah, tension leads us to action in order to make the tension stop. It's like hunger. You feel that tension, that discomfort in your stomach. That's motivation to go make a sandwich so that the sensation is no more. So if consistent tension is present in the body for long enough, the body translates that chronic tension into pain, because pain's a stronger motivator. It's a stronger call to action. If I squeeze your hand and you feel that tension, that pressure, you might not pull my hand back. But if I squeeze harder and you feel pain, you will pull it back. Right? So the body's really good. We have a zebra's nervous system essentially from here down, and that nervous system is pretty serious about ending this tension. But when we don't do anything about it, or we don't have the skills to do anything about it, it shifts it into pain to say, hey, you've got to take care of this. Do y'all follow me? So, example is, anybody heard of hypnobabies? Nobody's heard of that? Yeah. It's a hypnosis for labor, for childbirth. So what they do is they use hypnosis to trick your brain into feeling pressure instead of pain, because it's so much more tolerable than pain, yeah. So when tension is present in the body and you can't make it go away, the brain sends pain to protect you and motivate you to stop the threat that's triggering the tension in the first place. So I think I'm up to date on these. The cycle of chronic pain occurs the same way as the emotional cycle we mentioned previously. But what we refer to as pain is a sensation. So it fits within this. Now, it's part of the pain experience, but we're talking about the bodily, what we feel in the tissue of our bodies. So let's do this now. I assume most of you have pain, and you've been sitting in these chairs long enough today that even if you're not symptomatic, you probably are feeling something, right? So bring your attention to your pain. And just notice what thoughts come to mind as you sit with it for a minute. And as you notice the sensation and the thoughts that come to mind, what emotion are you feeling? So what thoughts came to mind? Anybody?
Tired of it? Exactly, I'm tired of having this. So,
Anger.
Yeah, yeah. Who else?
Can't do anything about it. Yeah, helpless.
Yeah. It's kind of like I'm helpless. Yeah. I'm frustrated.
I'm afraid that if I let it go, that something might happen that
Mm.
I couldn't control or would hurt me in some way.
Yeah.
That it actually may be serving me right now.
Yeah.
Even though
Okay, good. And so that's the thoughts. What emotions I'm hearing a lot of fear, helplessness, frustration, right? Anger. Yeah, typically what you're going to get with pain is fear or anger. Frustration is anger. The helplessness, that's almost more of like the freeze response. So we got fight, flight, which is anger and fear, but then we also have the freeze. So a lot of times pain can even do that. It can just, you're just stuck in it. You don't know where to go. Which is what a zebra would do if there is no escape. She plays dead. She collapses, right? So, good. Lost my place. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, because this whole pain thing gets really bad for us when it becomes a traumatic experience. It really becomes traumatic when it's intense and unpredictable. When I was in grad school, I worked at an anger management program for domestic abusers, wife beaters, basically. And I learned a lot about abusive behavior, like power and control type stuff. And the pain reminds me a lot of that. It's like you never know when it's going to happen. Sometimes it's okay to be around, and sometimes it might kick your ass, So it reminds me of that a lot. I want to show you this. This is kind of a more specific example. So let's say you feel that pain. The drunk guy comes out, and there he is, right? That's the red thing. That's the shoes. Okay, so you feel that pain, and that causes a thought. In this case, like, this is terrible. My body is damaged. Let's say it's something like that, right? That's a doozy. That's a tough thought. So what happens? The body tenses against this thing that's terrible. This thing that could cause damage, right? More tension, more pain. You feel that, right back up to another thought, I'll never get better. That's a really nasty one. And I noticed all your thoughts that you brought up, your mind had personalized it. It's about you, right? I'll never get better. And that's when it really gets tough, because that's when you start to really believe it. So then the body tenses even more, which causes more thoughts. And here we go back into this cycle that's perpetuating this emotional, this is what I mean, it's an emotional problem. You're stuck in this fear. And at this point, the chronic pain becomes chronic fear. And that's the point where, it definitely 100% is a mental health issue at this point. Right? You guys follow me on that? When this happens, the body and mind are out of sync. Your natural defense, which is the tension, becomes the very thing that the body is defending against. This causes the person to become afraid of sensation in the body. She leaves her body, she betrays it. The relationship that used to be one of unity is now one of avoidance and denial. It's kind of like living with that drunk guy. If you knew you were going to leave here and there's a 50-50 chance that you might get beat up, you probably would avoid coming home. And that's how it is with our bodies a lot. There's a high probability that we could experience something really bad if we went home into our bodies. So we don't go. It's not safe anymore. It's a traumatic place. So my approach to counseling is to change the relationship back to one of union and acceptance. And we do this by changing the way you think, changing it to where you're less judgmental and more factual, with less resistance and more acceptance. Because without judgment and resistance, the emotion can shift away from fear. Because the fear is there to protect you, right? When you see that there's nothing really there to protect you from, there's no need for the fear, there's no need for the protection, and there's no need for the body to tense and cause pain. So how do we do this? By using mindful observation and factual thinking to break the pain cycle. So I want to make two statements here, and I want you to notice how this feels different in your body. Okay, Dr. Matt McClanahan, you're ugly. Your face is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and your presentation sucked. Did y'all notice how that felt? Okay, now number two. Matt, you have brown hair, beard, and your presentation was very insightful. Did you feel the difference?
No, yeah.
Tell me what you felt. Number one, what was it? Mm-hmm. Your body, yeah.
Controversy was funny.
Yeah, but your body probably tensed up to protect you from being embarrassed or whatever. Number two, not so much. It was like, yeah, that's right. That's Matt. Right? If you're sitting around all day judging your pain, that's what your body's doing all the time. Tensing over and over and over and over. So it would make sense to shift that thinking from being so judgmental to more just straightforward and factual. Like, this is what it is. Right? Your body can tend to relax more and more. And it becomes less personal. My first thing I said to Matt was very personal. Second thing I said, not so much. So when you begin to think about your pain in this way, all those I statements can begin to disappear with it. So, a way that I found that is helpful for a lot of clients is describing your pain sensation using only using words that you would use to describe what you can feel with your hands. If you can feel something with your hands, you can feel it anywhere the same way. You'd use the same words. A lot of times I'll ask people in sessions, and that's happened here today, like, what sensation do you feel in your body? And they'll say, sad. And again, that's an emotion. Like, if you touched a hot iron on the stove, you wouldn't say, oh, that feels angry. Right? That's an emotion. It's hot. And sometimes I'll ask people, what sensation are you feeling? And they'll answer with a thought. Say, well, I think I feel, or I guess I feel. No, that's a thought. You're thinking about it, right? You wouldn't touch the hot eye and say, well, I think it's hot. No, it's hot. There's no thinking that's required. And so let's look at this. I've put together a list of words, sensation words, I guess we can call them. So let's explore our pain using our hands. So we can call it thinking with our hands, I guess. First is location. Where's your pain located?
Depends on what house.
Like right now, in the moment.
My left shoulder.
Left shoulder? Okay, I'll go with you for a minute. Does it feel like it's like deep in the tissue, or is it more surface level?
Both.
Both?
It feels like it's like sort of like a cone that goes down.
Oh, you're good at this. Okay. Anybody else?
Right heel.
Your right heel. Again, is it like more on the surface or
Deep.
deep inside? Is it more like on the left side of the foot, or the right, front, or back?
More on the left. So
Okay.
the left back.
Good. Okay, so we're locating it just like we would with our hands. Next is temperature. Is it hot, cold?
Sometimes it's burning hot.
What about right now?
Right now, I've been rubbing it, so it's more warm.
Okay. And you?
It's warm. When we were standing, it was hot.
Yeah. Okay. So it changes. That's interesting. We'll get that to the bottom. How big is it? And sometimes I like to pay people that use your hands. We're using our hands, right? Like, show me how big. Yeah. You?
Yeah, it's slightly smaller than my heel, maybe smaller than, like a small egg, smaller than an egg.
Okay. Good. So that's the shape. Egg shape.
Yeah.
Okay. Another one that I like to add. I don't know if it's on the list. Does it have a hard edge? Or is it, or more? Does it more like radiate out?
Like radiates out. Like
So it's like a.
the lump of something.
Okay, so it's like a. I'll say, is it a gas giant planet or is it a rock planet? Like, could you put your hand into it, or does it have a firm boundary?
Firm boundary.
Firm boundary. Okay. You too? But is it like is it hard or is it mushy?
Hard.
Anybody else?
Slightly mushy.
Slightly mushy. Anybody else can jump in.
It does have some give to it.
Okay.
I think this is interesting. When we saw the little pain guide that you color in,
Yeah.
earlier, when I have a migraine, sometimes I draw a jagged line like this that goes past the guy's head because my head hurts so bad.
Oh, wow.
It hurts past your head.
So it's located outside of your body.
Yeah, I'll draw the line past my head. It hurts past my head, and I'll
Okay.
draw the line past my head on that little man. So when you say where does
Mhm.
it hurts past the
Okay.
my head.
And yours, it's kind of jagged when that happened. Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't really make sense that it would hurt past my head, but I would draw it on the man.
Well, it makes
past
more
my
sense
head.
after what Jason said.
Yeah, it does.
Phantom limb.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting since you've been.
Phantom head.
what
second
y'all
head
been
pain.
talking about today, is that I'll draw it on that little man past my head.
Yeah.
When I draw where it hurts.
Okay.
That's just a big pain.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah. Now, what we're feeling in the moment, does anybody, does it feel hollow or is it solid?
Solid.
What does it weigh?
What we did kind of irritated right above my fusion, and it feels like a little rock, about like that,
Mm-hmm.
a little hot, hard rock.
Is it heavy?
Yeah, a little rock, it's heavy.
It sometimes feels like acid or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some neck pain issues that flare up when I'm stressed, and I always say it feels like sand. That's the way I describe it. So you said cone, you said egg. Anybody else got any funky shapes?
Star.
Star.
Radiating.
Radiating star. Okay. Am I missing anything? How does it, let's see, I think I have another. Yeah. Does it have any other qualities? Is it loose, tight, expansive, pressure, relaxed, sharp, dull, tingling, buzzing? Any of these jumping out?
Oh, I can, yeah,
Burn-
absolutely.
burning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pulsing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does it change or move? Like as we've done this, has it moved or changed in any way?
Not really.
I'm seeing some yeses and some nos. That's expected. Yeah. Okay. We probably spent, I guess, 5 minutes on this. I'm hoping that in that time you experienced your pain differently. There wasn't a lot of hopelessness and powerlessness here. There wasn't a lot of I statements coming to mind. It was just, this is what it is. Right? So that's what we're shooting for here. Because that hopelessness and powerless, it arises from thinking. 100%. What you think about the sensation and what you think about yourself, the one who hurts. It's a thinking problem. I had a client recently who, it seemed like she was making good progress as far as what she was reporting, as far as her pain reduction and what she was able to do. She kept coming into sessions just so desperate, every session just begging almost, like, please help me. What can I do? Is this always going to be this way? Am I ever going to get better? And so I asked her I said, can you rate your pain from 0 to 10? When you first started with me in the first session, it was a 10. What is it now? She said a 2. And I lit up because like any clinician would be so happy with 80% reduction, right? I said, okay, rate the disturbance of your thoughts right now. And she said an 8. And so you can really see that's out of proportion, right?
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So I kind of wonder how true is that for everybody? How out of proportion is the thinking? So this is just a helpful way to just shift that thinking so that you can experience it for what it is. If she was able to do that, her whole pain experience would be at least a 2. Right? If she was thinking about it accurately.
It's that way also with drugs lots of times.
Mm.
I've had people come in, and they've got a hip replacement or a knee replacement, and they're put on opiates, and a year later, maybe, well, it still hurts. I said, does it hurt like it did before the surgery? And they go, well, no, nothing like that. I go, pain medication won't stop pain.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it tolerable so
Yeah.
that you can perform.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like,
Yeah.
they expect it to,
Give me
to
some more
stop,
pills anyway.
Yeah.
and it won't.
That second question, you said you asked her to rate her pain.
To rate her
Second.
the disturbance of her thoughts about the pain. How disturbing are your thoughts about the pain? Yeah. The funny thing about this is your body, the sensation itself, it doesn't know anything about helplessness or powerlessness. It doesn't know if it's a good sensation or a bad sensation. It just is what it is. All of this is added by the mind. All of it. So a few years ago, I was having a really intense upper back, shoulder, and neck pain. It was pretty ferocious at this time. And looking back, it's interesting. That was when I was studying for the National Counselor exam. You know, I had an exam I took recently, and I was like, well, let's see if the neck pain shows up. And sure enough, it did, right? You can almost predict it. It's just, come on. I was seeing a chiropractor like 3 times a week. I was icing daily, multiple times, doing all kinds of ointments and ibuprofen. I was full on ibuprofen, right? I don't know what happened. I was at work. I used to work at a halfway house. And I was just sitting there, and it's like something happened. It was like this giving up experience in the best possible way, like a switch flipped. And I called my wife, and I told her, it takes too much work to feel good. I'm tired of it. I'm just going to learn to love the pain. And I put the ice packs away. I didn't see the chiropractor again. I just sat there and just allowed the pain to do whatever it wanted to do. Accepted it in a weird sort of way. I honored it. It's like my approach was, this is life expressing itself in my body right now. I let it do it. You know, just, what more worthy is there to pay attention to than the life that's happening in me, even if it's unpleasant? And guess what happened? About a day and a half later, I had no pain.
It's very Buddhist.
Yeah, so at the time I wondered why the pain stopped when I stopped trying to make it stop. But I think I have a pretty good idea about it now. We're raised to believe that if we want something, we work hard to get it. That our will and perseverance we can accomplish anything we want, right? It's not true. Sorry. I hate to say it like that, but in my experience working in mental health, you can't change a thought or a feeling by force, right? And there are lots of things like that. You ever try to force yourself to fall asleep?
Yes.
It's never worked in the history of the universe. Never. You're always more awake than you were when you started to try to make it happen. And it seems to me that's the way all thoughts and feelings, even the sensation of pain, is. Like the more you try to make it go away, the more it hangs around. And I'm sure somebody here could testify to that. So what I'm suggesting is a different approach that really requires you to do practically nothing. Don't think that the problem isn't that you haven't worked hard enough. You've probably worked too hard. If you're here giving up a Saturday to listen to people talk about pain, you've tried you've tried a lot of things. Like you changed your diet, doctor hopped, different treatments. Yeah, a lot of things. You spend a lot of time on the internet researching. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people I've had come in for OCD type symptoms from looking at WebMD. It keeps me busy. So if you're bouncing from doctor to doctor or treatment to treatment, you have a belief, which is a thought. Beliefs are just thoughts. You have a belief that there's something wrong with you. I made a slide for this because I thought it was important. As long as there are thoughts that there's something wrong with you, there will be tension. And as long as there's tension, there will be pain. So when you change your relationship with pain in your body, you open yourself up to the possibility of being free of it. For some of you, this might mean no more pain, but for others, it might mean freedom from the emotional suffering that flows from it, that helplessness and powerlessness, hopelessness. Dr. McClanahan told me a while back, and it told me something that really impacted me. He said that we need to reframe how we think about success when we're dealing with pain. He said that success should be defined by how little we care about it, not how much pain we're feeling. So I would add, success is no longer determined by how much pain you're in, but how accurately you're experiencing it. So for closing questions to you that I hope you chew on. So are you thinking about pain sensation judgmentally, or can you think about it factually? Are you resisting pain sensation, or can you accept it and change how you relate to it and your body? So thank you all very much. It's been fun.
There you go.